is the eve of the eve, the period where many persons are most reflective and thankful. Hello, I'm Adrian Atkinson, and today we prepare to say goodbye to 2015 and get ready to right wrongs and take perhaps a more creative and innovative approach to life. Welcome to Jamaica Magazine.
Slow down, drivers, you're moving too fast. Listen, we drive the cars. Cars don't drive us. So watch it, huh? Pay attention to the road rules. Don't be a fool, and don't bother with the careless overtaking. Just take your time on our Jamaica road and make we have a nice place. See? This is Taurus Riley, your singer, the recording artist. Help me to save lives.
Good day, I'm Andrea Chizom, and this is your JIS News for Wednesday, December 30. The Bureau of Standards Jamaica BSJ has ordered the closure of 17 gas stations in 7 parishes as it intensifies its probe into the source of contaminated fuel on the market. Contaminated E1087 and E1090 gasoline were found at gas stations in Kingston and St. Andrew, Clarendon, St. James, Manchester, St. Thomas and St. Catherine.
And the Bureau will be utilizing the powers that it has to ensure that these stations will not be selling those products for the time being until the proprietors can indicate to the Bureau of Standards, which will have to be verified by further testing, that the products meet full specifications.
The Energy Minister, who was speaking at a press conference on Tuesday, indicated that the names of the gas stations with contaminated fuel would not be released at this time since the source of contamination was not known. He said the BSJ would be randomly testing fuel across the island and all players in the petroleum sector would be subject to greater scrutiny.
Going forward, we are going to require that every single person who comes in contact with this trade will be required to keep proper accounting information that will be subject to auditing so that we can trace the product from importation or from delivery at the loading rack into the market.
The minister added that the BSJ was also testing fuel from importers and those results should be available by January 2. The Major Organized Crime and Anti-Corruption Agency will also be investigating the possible illegal trading of petroleum products. Jamaican workers will have a little more money to spend when the new income tax threshold takes effect on New Year's Day. The income tax threshold will increase by just over $35,500, moving to $592,800. As a result, the tax-free portion of one's weekly income will be $11,400. For those paid fortnightly, the tax-free portion is $22,800 and quarterly it's $148,200.
For the monthly paid persons, it's $49,400. On a monthly basis, that will be tax-free. So any income that they have in excess of that will be subject to the normal 25% taxes. With that, you'll find that you'll have a little more in the kitty. It's a small amount, but your take-home pay will be a little more than it was in 2015.
Ms. Horton was speaking in an interview with JIS News. The increase in the income tax threshold is in keeping with the 2015-2016 revenue measures announced by government. The Ministry of Labour and Social Security is moving to increase its contribution to economic growth and development. Portfolio Minister Dr. Fenton Ferguson says additional training for staff, improved customer service, labour market reform and increasing productivity levels will be high on the agenda.
We must be seen in the context of industrial relations. It must be seen in the context of education and training. It must be seen in the context of labour policy and legislation, and it must be seen in the context of social protection.
Dr. Ferguson was speaking during a tour of the St. Thomas office of the Ministry of Labour and Social Security. He also indicated that the Overseas Employment Program would be expanded. There will be several traffic changes in downtown Kingston on Thursday to facilitate the annual fireworks on the waterfront to ring in the new year. From 6 a.m., a number of streets will be blocked. These include Ocean Boulevard and West Street at the intersections with Port Royal Street, Orange Street below the entrance to the multi-story car park, and King Street below the entrance to Kentucky Fried Chicken. Meanwhile, the Urban Development Corporation, which is spearheading fireworks on the waterfront, is asking patrons to wear white at the event. This year's theme is Hope, Renewal, a New Year. Activities will begin at 3 p.m. with rides for children and a variety of food and art and craft items. The main event, the stage show, will begin at 6 p.m. And finally, scores of people paid homage to national hero, the Right Excellent George William Gordon today at a floral tribute at the National Heroes Park in Kingston. The occasion was to commemorate the 200th anniversary of his birth. Principal Director in the Ministry of Youth and Culture, Dr. Janice Lindsay, underscored the value of the ceremony.
When we can take the time as a nation to reflect and pay homage to those who have charted the path to the liberties we now enjoy, it signals an important message about the value we place on our human capital.
Deputy Governor General Custer Stedman Fuller, who represented Governor General Sir Patrick Allen, and Education Minister Reverend Ronald Thwaites were among those laying floral tributes. George William Gordon, who was instrumental in the Morant Bay Rebellion of 1865, was conferred with the Order of National Hero in 1969. And that's it for GIS News today. I'm Andrea Chisholm. Thank you for watching.
Fever, rash, joint pain and red eyes. All common signs of the Zika virus or ZIKV. Symptoms are usually mild, lasting anywhere from a few days to a week. Jamaica has no Zika cases, but if it gets here, it would only be transmitted by the Aedes aegypti mosquito. Don't give Zika a chance. Prevent the breeding of these pesky mosquitoes.
The use of oil, cooking oil, a little tip of cooking oil poured on the surface of the water suffocates the larvae and prevents them hatching out. So persons can do that.
Let's recall some great men who've been fighting for our rights. Let's recall some great men who've been fighting for our rights.
In the early 1800s, the wealthy Scottish planter Joseph Gordon owned a large sugar estate in the parish of St. Andrew and lived in a beautiful Georgian great house on its grounds. In 1820, Joseph Gordon fathered a son with a slave woman. He was named George William Gordon. George William was not born a slave, although he was born before emancipation. He spent most of his childhood in the house set up by his father for his children born of this slave woman. From an early age, George William's father noticed his keen interest in books and encouraged him to study. The young Gordon was also a great orator and took part in religious debates at an early age. Gordon's commitment to religion never waned. He started an independent Baptist organization and erected a tabernacle in Kingston where he often preached. Gordon helped his followers to open chapels in many parts of the island and also ordained several deacons, including Paul Bogle of Stony Gut. In later years, this educated gentleman became a successful businessman. He concentrated on buying and leasing lands, which he cut up and sold or sublet cheaply to the Negro peasants, who at the time had great difficulty obtaining land. He also sold them livestock and organized a marketing system through which they could sell their produce at fair prices. Emancipation was not a welcome change for most of the planter class in Jamaica, and many tried by various means to hinder the progress of blacks. Gordon was a member of the wealthy middle class who did his best to help the free slaves. When he entered politics, he used this medium to speak out frequently about the unjust treatment of this group. By 1865, the social and economic crisis in Jamaica had reached a dangerous level. The harshness and insensitivity of the then Governor Edward Eyre did nothing to relieve the tension. Gordon was outraged by the conditions he saw. Although he wanted to see a change in the social and material conditions of the blacks, he never advocated violence as a means of achieving this change. As a member of the Jamaican Assembly, he spoke out on behalf of the poor Negroes and bitterly criticized Governor Eyre. It was therefore ironic that he was blamed for instigating and supporting the Morant Bay Rebellion in St. Thomas. Despite the lack of evidence, Governor Eyre issued a warrant for his arrest. On hearing this, George William Gordon gave himself up to the authorities and was quickly taken to Morant Bay, where he was illegally tried and sentenced to death. Gordon was hanged with 18 other persons on October 23, 1865. The residential area, now known as Cherry Gardens, is the former estate where George William Gordon was born.
"2016, here we come." Perhaps in the new year you may decide to open that dream business you were to have started in 2015. Do you know how? Let the JIS help you fast-track the process. Learn how to register your business and you get a bonus: how to register a company.
Have you realized that more and more Jamaicans are becoming their own bosses? Think about it. Varying types of companies or businesses are being opened all over the island. But before they could start their operations, they first had to be registered with the Companies Office of Jamaica, COJ. The process to register a business and a company are not the same. In fact, many believe that a company is the same as a business, but they really aren't. A company is a non-profit or profit-generating commercial enterprise registered or incorporated under the Companies Act, while a business is a sole trader or partnership registered under the Business Names Act. So with that said, we will be differentiating the registration process for each of these two groups for you. Let's begin with how to register a business. For new applicants, you will need to complete and submit the Business Registration Form BRF1, also known as the Super Form. You will also need a document verifying the owner or owner's current place of address, such as a driver's license or utility bill. The business owner or owners must present their tax registration number or TRN, an original valid government identification card, and a work permit or exemption letter where applicable. Professional certification is required for some businesses, such as doctors, lawyers, dentists, pharmacists, engineers, architects, surveyors, real estate dealers and developers, custom brokers, hairdressers, barbers, pest control operators, child care and golden age care services. Now, the last thing left to do is to pay the necessary registration fees. The registration fee of a sole trader is $2,500. To register a partnership of 2 to 5 persons is also $2,500. The registration fee of a partnership of 6 to 20 persons is $5,000. And the registration of a partnership and a trade name as it relates to a corporation is $3,000 each. After you've submitted all the relevant documents and made the requisite payments, the documents will be verified by the COJ. Then within 2 working days, you'll receive a certificate of registration. This certificate is valid for 3 years, and the TRN and NIS number of your business will be displayed at the base. Certification ensures that you are registered with the National Housing Trust and Heart Trust NTA. Now, let's move on to how to register your company. There are some company owners who, before registering their non-profit or profit-generating company, reserved their company name. The COJ has made it possible for these persons who may not be able to afford the fees associated with the registration of their company or who are in the process of accumulating the relevant documents to first reserve a name for their company up to 90 days before it's registered. This is a very beneficial opportunity because if you do this, you will 1. Establish that the proposed name is appropriate and available for use. 2. Protect the name from use by others during the 90 days reservation period. And 3. Allow your company assured use of the name for pre-incorporation contracts. So, if you decide to reserve the name of your company and reap the benefits, you will need to do 2 things. Complete and submit the company's name search and name reservation form, Form 6. And when that's done, you'll be required to pay a fee of $500 for the name search and $3,000 for the name reservation. At the end of the process, you will receive a letter advising you of the reservation of your company name. But if you choose to go right ahead and register your company, there are a few things to do. First on the list, complete the Articles of Incorporation form. If you are registering a profit-making company, you will complete Form 1A. But if you are registering a non-profit company such as a church, charity, service club, or NGO, you will be required to complete Form 1B. When completing the forms, you should ensure they contain details such as the name of the company with the word limited added at the end, the core business of the company, the classes of shares and the maximum number of shares that the company is authorized to issue. For example, 1,000 ordinary shares. Restrictions on share transfers. Minimum and or maximum number of directors. Names and particulars of the proposed directors and the company secretary. Names of proposed shareholders, as well as any restrictions on the business that the company may carry on. For example, the company may not support any political party. All articles will attract a stamp duty fee. Stamping is done at the COJ. The second thing to do to register your company is to complete the Business Registration Form, BRF1, also known as the Super Form. On this form, you will be filling in the required information needed on the principal director, all other directors, the company secretary, registered office, and the projected start date. These details are now mandatory for the registering of a company. The super forms should be signed by all the directors of the company, as well as the person declaring the accuracy of the information submitted on the form. This person must present an original valid government-issued identification or a certified copy of a government-issued identification card on location. The final thing to do is to pay transaction fees. The cost for registration is $24,000 and there's a minimum of $500 for stamp duty. After you've gone through all the steps and made the requisite payments, COJ will verify the documents and then you'll receive a certificate of incorporation within 5 working days. With the certificate of incorporation, you will also receive the company's TRN and NIS number. The certification ensures that you are registered with the National Housing Trust and Heart Trust NTA. You also get a tax compliance certificate, TCC, which is valid for 90 days. If the time period to get your certificate is too long and you want to register at the soonest possible time, then you can make use of the expedition services offered by the COJ. There's the same-day service which can be accessed at a cost of $6,000 for companies and $3,000 for businesses. Then there's the next-day express service which can be accessed at a cost of $3,000 for companies and $1,500 for businesses. The cutoff time for the same-day express service is 9:30 a.m. and 1 p.m. for the next-day express service. And that's it. If you have any questions, feel free to contact the company's Office of Jamaica for more information by calling 908-4419 or visiting their office at 1 Grenada Way, Kingston 5. Remember, you can access all forms and samples on the COJ's website at orcjamaica.com. Congratulations to you and all the best with your business or company.
When it comes on to party, we often equate going to parties and having a good time with consuming alcohol. So we know the limitations that alcohol can have on one's ability to react appropriately and to make a sound decision. We ask that persons who travel in groups and go out together, we ask that there is one designated driver who will be the person to take home the group safely. Many traffic accidents result from persons who have been under the influence of alcohol. When persons consume alcohol, for some reason, it triggers certain emotions, and we find that little arguments can develop which cause big problems. If there is a dispute, we expect persons will be trying to intervene. We ask that the police be contacted. Going home, the rules remain the same. You want to be aware of your surroundings. You want to ensure that you gain quick access to your home and to your vehicle. And persons, when they go to parties, we encourage too, especially females, that handbags and other items of value are not left in cars. Depending on where you are going, you have to make an assessment as to whether or not you want to accessorize to the extent that you can become a target. Travel with cards instead of cash, and if you have to travel with cash, do not travel with excess amount of cash. We ask that persons travel in groups. There is safety in numbers. Don't take your safety for granted.
Earlier in the show, we guided you through the process of registering the business you've always wanted to start. Are there other goals you did not get to achieve in 2015? The top ones are usually professional or educational based. The upcoming feature shows you where to start.
It's life in the fast lane for ambitious people determined to seize every opportunity to progress, tactically assessing the past while passionately commanding future goals, their academic ambitions among them.
I wanna rule my destiny. Yeah, I wanna rule my destiny.
There are distractions and hindrances, circumstantial and financial, that can prevent persons from advancing their academic goals. But in the midst of it all, it's important to build a momentum to stay the course and achieve your full potential.
There are so many tertiary institutions that offer a variety of programs, skill building, not just academics. There are ways in which I think our young people can better advance themselves, and it is imperative in a society that we live in now and in the global environment that students do try to access tertiary education. It's for their own good, and it's for the good of the country as well.
One effective tool used by a lot of people to uplift themselves is that of making resolutions, turning a new leaf, as some people say. A promise to ourselves to kick bad habits and focus on getting important things done.
Yo, my youth, you know a big man thing. I beat some books and all. I have to continue my education. Where that one?
You're true thing you're saying. Education is key, man. Life would be so much better.
Picture me 10 years from now, an international banking title.
Right now there are many programs in the tertiary sector which help them to become entrepreneurs. They are able to perform in the arts. I mean, the world is their oyster. There are just so many avenues that you can channel yourselves into. I suppose now persons have to be thinking a lot more on self-reliance. So it's not just about going to find a job, it's also how can I do something for myself to enhance my own development.
Every youth want get them own a residence, and if America can get a black president, that means anything possible. So from the mind conceive.
Successful completion of secondary education paves the way for entry into tertiary studies and gainful employment. Work becomes important where the finances are found wanting, but one has to guard against it becoming a hindrance to gaining higher education.
I want to ensure that my academic pursuits are number one.
My intention is really to graduate with first-class honors. Matter of fact, I want to be valedictorian.
Interesting.
That sounds good. Well, you know, for me, when I leave you next year, what greater accomplishment can I feel than being knowledgeable, skilled, and, you know, be competent at the highest level?
True, true.
So let's look forward to next year.
Next year it is.
Next year it is.
Right.
All right, well, I tell you.
And good
It's
class.
so interesting.
Yeah.
Higher levels of education and training allows for the enrichment of individual achievers. On a national scale, it's fuel for collective social and economic progress. We may not be able to save up all the money we need to finance our academic fees, but that should not stop us from moving forward. Agencies like the Student Loan Bureau can help. It's the key government institution for financing tertiary education.
The Student Loan Bureau is established to assist persons who are needy, persons who cannot necessarily afford tertiary level education. We are designed to assist primarily those persons. However, we are also here to assist persons who are self-employed who may need to go to tertiary level education and they cannot afford to do so on their own.
To advance, you can't afford to, as they say, drop the ball or lose faith in becoming the best. Learning is not limited to any age group or particular phase in life. Most universities support this idea by providing programs tailored to meet the needs of a diverse student base. And accredited tertiary level training institutions like mine are helping persons working in the public and private sector, offering courses at subsidized fees.
We provide quality leadership and management training to ensure the efficiency, the full development of professionals within the public service.
Every week there's a new course or program starting at Mind. For our associate degrees and postgraduate diplomas, however, typically our enrollment periods are January and September.
So I've made my choice. Education is key. Now I need a loan.
In order to access a student's loan, what you would have to do between the months of January to April of each year, you visit our website www.slbja.com and you complete the application form online and you submit it online.
So is that all a person needs to get a loan?
They would need to have a TRN, they must be 16 and over, they must be able to prove that they have applied to a tertiary level institution. If they are under the age of 18, their parents need to sign the declaration form for them. They also need to be able to provide us with all of the required documents listed on the website.
Outside of the Students Loan Bureau, the Ministry of Finance is an available option for academic scholarships and bursaries. So, bachelor's, master's, doctorate.
We have to come to the end of my final edition of Jamaica Magazine for 2015. Remember to stay tuned to the JIS to keep abreast of all things happening across the length and breadth of our beautiful island. I'm Adrian Atkinson. On behalf of the dedicated production team here at the JIS, continue to inspire health, healing, happiness and love in the world now, and especially for the new year.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.